So I was just going to talk to you a minute today. I was talking to my pastor earlier, and we was just discussing this season that I'm in. I don't really talk to a lot of people about it, and I'm not going to now. I'm just going to tell you I'm in a season. And what I mean by seasons, in life, you're going to go through some hard places, and just as seasons transition, your life is going to transition in that manner, in a sense. And if you go to Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1, we're going to talk about that for just a second. And so it goes from Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 8. And you can go all the way down to 9, from 9 to 14 if you'd like. But I'm going to read the 1 through 8 to show you about the seasons and just what's going to happen. And then I'm going to kind of expound on some things. But starting right here, it says, "For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to turn away, a time to search and a time to quit searching, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be quiet and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace." And so no matter what season you find yourself in, and that's a pretty hefty list, you can go back through and hear it in its entirety, maybe slower. Maybe you need to go read it for yourself. So again, that's Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 8. And so seasons are going to come and seasons are going to go. And what's crazy is you've no control over the seasons. Seasons don't run on your time. They run on God's time. They're going to come. They're going to come in your life. And I guess what you can say is, no matter what season you find yourself in, you've got to press on. You've got to keep moving. And my pastor and I was talking today, and he was talking about it's a heart, to guard your heart. And I've been doing my best to stay standing and to do that, because it is a heart condition. Your mind may be saying one thing, like you're not going to make it or you're not going to come out of this, but your heart has to be you have to be hearing from God. You have to be in the Word. People say, I don't hear from God. Well, if you're not reading His Word, that's probably why you're not hearing. If you're not seeking, then you're not going to hear. If you're not praying, then you're not going to hear. And that's what I do. I watch a lot of ministers online, and I read the Bible, and I pray. And, there's times that I fast as well. And so in saying that, no matter what you're going through, you just have to know that victory is yours ultimately, because the Bible, it talks about your victory all through it. And, there's a scripture in there that's talking about your idle words. You're going to be held accountable for it. And so in the season that you find yourself in, every negative idle word that you speak about it, instead of marching through it, you're going to be held accountable for that. And every person that you lead astray in your season, and that's been one of my concerns. Like, I don't want to lead people astray. And there's been times that I've been really, really saddened by my situation. And I hated it. I hated to feel that. And that's why right now I've determined that I'm going to press on no matter what. I've been doing that. I've been carrying it and shouldering it and feeling like, when is the end going to come? But, we was talking again, my pastor and I, and he made the statement, even when you was molested and you was that little girl in the closet, I don't know if you know my story, but I was molested at a young age. And when it would be over, I would crawl into my closet and I would get in this fetal position and just weep. And this eagle would visit me. And I know some would say that was your imagination, but I know that it wasn't. And so it would take me to places that were just beautiful. And I would feel such peace, such a presence of peace. And so I feel like that's what really carried me through those times. And there's been times in my life when I walked hand in hand with the enemy. And that's what's horrible to even say. I lived in such a sinful manner. But I'm not that person anymore. I'm not that same Misty. I always say Misty BC and Misty AC. And by that I mean Misty before Christ and Misty after Christ. And I'm really not that person. I'm so changed. And I'm so humble. And I'm so in love with God. And I just want to share my love with anyone and everyone, And so he was saying, even in those times, you wasn't defeated. And and that's huge. When you really sit down on it, I wasn't defeated. And I'm not defeated now, and I don't have to walk in a defeated state, no matter what I'm going through, no matter how hard the finances are or no matter how difficult the day is. whatever I'm going through that day, through this season, no matter what it is, God carries me through it. I just have to trust. I just have to trust. And there's going to be times that you're going to be aggravated. I prayed to God last Thursday and I was aggravated. And I said, God, in the Bible, you did not tell a person to take their bed up and walk 3 months later. Instantaneously, they were healed. The woman that pressed through the crowd and touched the hem of your garment was made whole. She's the only person in the Bible that says she was made whole. And she came to him seeking. And I said, I can't touch the hem of your garment because you're in heaven. But Lord, right now, I'm needing you to lower the hem of your garment because I'm needing to be made whole in this situation. And God showed up that day. And, I could go on and on through my life. I rededicated my life in 2012. And there's been times in my walk that I was weak. I was walking in a weakened state and not as close to God as I should have been. But I came back correct because I determined in 2012 I'll not turn my back on God again. There's never been a time in my life that I didn't believe God was real. But there's been times in my life, of course, that I was shunning him and I wasn't heeding to what he was calling me to do. And now at 36 years old, I'm kingdom-minded. I'm ready to fulfill what God's called me to do because I'm going to stand before him one day. And he wrote about me before the beginning of time. And in that book, he's going to show me, this is what I wrote. Let's see how you acted in it. And so every day I say, Lord, I want to take identity of what you wrote about me before the beginning of time. I don't want to be the worldly way. I want to be the heavenly way. And I want to take on a Christ-like way of thinking, a Christ-like way of seeing, speaking, hearing. Lord, I want to carry myself in a Christ-like manner. When I meet people, I want them to look into my eyes and see you, Lord. I don't want them to see hurt. I don't want them to see, doubt. I want them to see Christ no matter what. And there's times that I've not carried myself at the way that I should. And your life can be weighty. You can lose everything. You can lose out. But that season, you may have a season of loss. But how do you carry yourself through it is how I believe you'll come out of it. Because, my life has been hard. But I really do believe that God's got a great purpose for my life. And I believe this is just the beginning. This is just a tip of it. I'm going to go somewhere. I'm going to be ministering to people. I already am. And I'm already believing, I don't know what all God's got in store. But the fact is, I know he's got in store, I know that he's got something wonderful. I don't see the big picture, I don't see what God can see. But I have to see, if that makes sense. I still have to believe, and I just have to press on. So I would encourage you today, no matter what you're dealing with, no matter how hard it is, press on and find somebody, that you can trust. Let God lead you to somebody that you can speak to. There are people in your life that you can vent to, and that know you well enough to know this is not your everyday state. And don't speak to somebody that's not your cheerleader. A lot of people are faking that cheer. I wrote about that the other day. I might have talked about it, I don't remember, but nonetheless, be careful who you're speaking to about your situations. And not everybody can handle the weight of your situation. I've learned that as well, I really have. You can't just share yourself with everybody. And so, people are watching, and that in itself is major. And I'm going to continue to press on, and I'm going to continue to encourage those around me. And even if I'm feeling like, Lord, I don't understand, I'm going to trust. And so today I would say to you, trust and know that there's seasons, and don't get discouraged through your season. Press through it. Be blessed and unstressed, and have a great Wednesday evening.